What's up, everybody? Manny here. Today we got a question from someone who got dropped for the first time in sparring. So I'm gonna tell you how to deal with this and some stories of myself getting dropped. So when I was younger, we used to spar on the street, like in the front, just on the concrete. I remember I was like probably 11 years old, and we put the boxing gloves on. It was my first time actually sparring boxing. I had no concept of boxing. Didn't know how to throw a punch. Really, didn't know anything. Right, and we just ran like 4 or 5 matches. I had me, a bunch of my buddies, and I got dropped probably 2, 3 times. They didn't know what they were doing. I didn't know what I was doing. And my balance was all off, and I got dropped. Fell to the ground, hit the concrete, got back up. Looking back, that was extremely dangerous because all it takes is someone hitting their head on the concrete the wrong way, and you're out of here. So I look back, like we got lucky so many times that no one got seriously hurt. But let's get straight into the question. So got knocked down the first time last night. I was sparring with a guy at the gym, and it was going okay until he landed a high kick, which hit my jaw. I heard a ringing sound, vision went dark, and I dropped to the ground. But 1 or 2 seconds later, I got up and continued sparring. I had a bit of nausea, but after I went home and slept, woke up feeling pretty normal. I told coach about it, and he told me that it was normal and I probably had a slight concussion. I have sparring tomorrow, and I was wondering if I should go or should I take a break. Thanks. Yeah, so you definitely shouldn't spar the next day. If you got dropped like that, first off, when you have a concussion, they say you're not supposed to go to bed. I don't really know about that. This is just what they say. I could tell you one time I had a real concussion, and I was sparring, and actually this is a perfect story. I was sparring. I was getting ready for my pro debut, right? One day we go in, I spar. I'm going with the heavyweight. I get hit with some stuff. I'm hitting the back. I get hit. I have a slight headache. No big deal, okay? I go the next day. We spar again. We were all preparing for fights, but we were training kind of like knuckleheads. I go the next day. We spar again, and I end up getting a black eye, and now I have a worse headache because of the previous day. So now it's compounding. So I tell myself, like, all right, that's it. I'm not going to spar the rest of the week. I'm going to take the rest of the week off. I go to practice the next day. We spar again. So you don't ever ask a fighter, like, hey, do you want to spar? Because in my heart, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'll spar anybody. I'll fight anybody. But I should have said, no, I have a headache. I'm not going to spar today. But it's real hard in these situations to say no, because you're in there, you're in the gym. You don't want to be soft. You're not scared. You don't want anybody to think you're scared, right? So I go in, I spar again, especially because no one wanted to spar this guy. So I'll be damned. I'll spar him all day, but I went in, sparred again. Now this is the 3rd day in a row. Now I have a real concussion and I have an orbital fracture. My eye ballooned up, and now I had a true concussion. And my pro debut was 2 weeks. It was in 2 weeks. So whenever you're compromised and you continue sparring, that's when you get these real injuries, So, and the head kick, a lot of people get dropped by head kicks. I remember when I first started training in the gym for real, I still have a scar on my eye till this day. We were sparring, messing around. I got hit with the head kick. One of my old coaches was a master at the head kick. Bop, hit me with the head kick. I went down, my eye, over my eye, under my eyelid got cut, and I got dropped. There's levels to being dropped. When you get dropped or when you get hit and you feel that electric shock, that's like a serious one. When you feel the electricity, that's a serious one. If you just fall down and get dropped, you might have just been off balance, whatever. But whenever you spar and you got hit and then you continue to spar the next day or whatever, you know, that's when you're gonna get a real concussion, you know, or a bad concussion. And when you're beginning and you're starting and you don't really have guidance, you know, and that's the thing. Your coach, sometimes some of these coaches are knuckleheads, straight up. Sometimes some of these coaches don't have your best interest at heart. It's hard to find a coach that really has your best interest at heart. And I highly advise you find it. I'm not saying that, you know, let's say, for example, one time I got dropped preparing for a fight, and my coach at the time, I was like, no, we're good. Let's go. Let's keep going. And he was like, no, you're done. That's how you want your coaches to be. If your coach, if you got dropped or whatever, and your coach is like, hey, you can keep going, but you're going to go body shots, then that's one thing. But the head trauma is something that's serious, you know? So Alex Pereira is an incredible knockout artist, probably the best kickboxer in MMA right now. Let's take a look at him sparring, and let's just see what that looks like. Now, you have one of the most dangerous kickboxers in the world sparring. I don't know this pedigree of the guy he's sparring, but no one's getting rocked here. No one's getting dropped, you know? No one's getting banged up. Let's hear the shots. I mean, they're hitting good, but no one's trying to really hurt themselves. And now that might have been on you that you got dropped. You know, that might have been on you. Maybe your technique just wasn't there and you just did something stupid and you got dropped, and that's on you. But you should probably take a break from sparring, maybe spar once a week as a beginner, because when you're a beginner, you know, you can just get banged up pretty badly because you honestly just don't know what you're doing. You know, you literally just don't know what you're doing, and you're going in, and to learn how to spar, it could take some time. You know, it could really take some time. This is another clip of Pereira sparring, and here he looks like you're doing straight boxing, just like the last clip, and they're throwing here, but no one is ever getting dropped. You know, which Pereira could easily drop. You know, people. You know, so it's a combination of a few factors here. The reason no one is getting dropped is because obviously Pereira is a great training partner, and he knows how to work. And the guy he's going with is also, you know, skilled to a degree, skilled enough to where he's not going to, you know, just get destroyed and get knocked out. So if you're not at the point where you have enough skills to defend yourself, you shouldn't really be sparring. You know what I'm saying? And I believe you said that, you know, that was actually your first time getting dropped, you know, and you're a beginner. So yeah, I would just say, you know, take your time. Sparring is fun, and everybody wants to be a badass. Everybody wants to go in there and you know, show their skills and put the hands on people, put the beats on people. But until you know how to defend, until you have a few moves in your book, especially if you're fighting and you're sparring people way better than you, you're going to take a lot of damage. And that's something that you're not made out of glass. You'll be good, but you want to minimize those concussions as much as possible.